Am I the asshole for calling my SIL a racist after she compared my cooking to making kung pao chicken? Too long did not read. At bottom. For context, I've been married to my wife for 10 years and we're a mixed-race couple. I'm Asian and she's Caucasian. I've gotten along with her family, Mil, Bill, Sil. But I always felt like her Phil and other Sil, Sarah, never liked me. I'm a professionally trained chef with 15+ years of experience and I work at a high-end Chinese restaurant, a spin-off of a popular one in Beijing, in a large U.S. city. My crew and I have won several awards, and I've been explicitly told I'll be the next executive chef. Sarah is also a professionally trained chef and works at a popular upscale French restaurant in the city. She constantly brags about it and, no joke, compares herself out loud to Ramsay and Bourdain. Whenever I'm at my Mil and Phil's house and helping out in the kitchen, Sarah is always criticizing everything I do. Whether it's chopping, braising, marinating, etc., she always butts in with comments like, I think you should actually do X like this. I've been patient for my wife and sidestepping those comments, saying things like, thanks, but I think I'll stick to the way I do it. Things came to a head 2 weeks ago when my wife, Phil, Mil, and I were in her parents' kitchen prepping dinner for my Mil's birthday. We were running a bit behind so things were heated, which I kind of like because it reminded me of work, and that's when Sarah walked in. She took one look at what I was doing, scoffed, and said something like, oh wow. Okay, so that's not the right way of doing things. It hit a nerve and I pretty sternly told her to stop criticizing my cooking and that I'm also a chef like her. She laughed and said, making kung pao chicken at some Chinese restaurant doesn't count. The kitchen went silent, Phil snorted, chuckled, and my Mil yelled, Sarah, what is wrong with you? I stopped what I was doing, swore at her and called her a racist piece of shit, apologized to my Mil for not being able to stay, and left for home with my wife. Apparently this caused a massive fight after we left, with my Mil, Bill, other Sil taking my side and my Phil, Sarah saying, it was a joke but kind of true, and that I was being too sensitive. The extended family somehow got wind of this and now everyone is arguing and taking sides, with my wife even getting texts from some her cousins apologizing for Sarah's behavior. Despite being on my side, my wife is begging me to apologize so that the fighting will stop, but I refuse to because fuck Sarah and her blatant racism. Am I the asshole? Too long did not read. I'm a chef working at upscale Chinese resto. My Sil is a chef at upscale French resto. She's critical of my cooking skills and has now called it, making kung pao chicken at a Chinese restaurant. Family at war. Wife begging me to apologize. What do? Edit. My wife has also informed me that now Sarah may be in trouble at work and she's blaming me for it. Apparently one of her co-workers heard her rant about what happened and reported it to management. Edit. To clarify, Sarah is blaming me, though my wife is partly blaming me. EDIT2, update. So it looks like one of my wife's cousins found this post and put it on Sarah's Facebook wall going, this is you, right? Her Facebook friends are starting to comment with things like, if this is you, Sarah, then I'm disappointed. I think Sarah's still at work, shit might be hitting the fan soon and now my wife is pissed too. We'll try to update but might have to delete post if things go nuclear. EDIT3, UPDATE2. Was considering removing but I just got a voicemail from my Phil that my presence was only being tolerated up until this point, and threatened a world of hurt if I didn't delete this post. Officially going to keep this post up, and if you're still reading this, Doug, I'm very disappointed in you. You're better than this. We'll also continue to update and thanks again for all your support, folks. EDIT4, UPDATE3. Lots of stuff just went down. 1. My wife got a call from Sil. From wife's paraphrasing, Sarah started screaming, crying at her the moment my wife picked up and said that she just got demoted because of her Asian slur husband. Apparently some of her co-workers have her on Facebook and showed the post to management, which combined with her earlier rant, double whammied her back to being a line cook and now she might get fired. My wife told her to go fuck herself and is now solidly on my side after taking the verbal abuse from Sarah and reading some of the comments here. My wife is still the opposite of happy though. 2. Wife called Mil and asked her what the fuck was going on with Phil. Mil was confused, so my wife played back the voicemail I had on my phone, and apparently my Mil literally just walked away from the phone without hanging up and started screaming at Phil. 3. Facebook post has now devolved into a clusterfuck flame war with family and friends jumping in. Suffice to say, it has officially gone nuclear. Me right now. I think I'm going to have to call this a day. We'll make an update post when the dust settles. Thanks again, folks. Not the asshole. Cooking Asian food doesn't count as cooking is racist, incredibly uncalled for, and shows how much of an entitled know-it-all Sarah is. Glad most people over there are on your side, but yeah, don't apologize when you did nothing wrong. Edit. Wow. My post blew up. Loving the crazy mix of comments here, and the updates to the main post are amazing to read. Can't wait to see how this clusterfuck ends. Not the asshole. I'm disappointed in your wife. Enabling her racist sister and dad over her husband is not a good look. And with the edit, apparently Sarah can't keep her racist mouth shut anywhere and that consequence is on her. Please, for fuck's sake do not apologize. Sarah is racist, it may well have been a joke, but it was a fucking racist joke. I'd be goddamn livid that your wife is telling you to apologize. That is disgusting behavior from her, and she's saying that racism is acceptable, even when it's against someone she loves. At least there are some in her family who don't think racism is fine. I'd be going scorched earth over this shit. Not the asshole. If she gets in trouble at work, that's on her. They don't fire good chefs for a simple remark at home. They might however fire a bad person or chef over something like that. She was attacking your career. Not cool. What was the FIL's career? Where'd he work? Musical note: if you're racist and you're fired, it's your fault. If you're racist and you're fired, it's your fault. If you're racist and you're vocal, expect some blowback from the locals. If you're racist and you're fired, it's your fault. Musical note: not the asshole. Not the asshole that whole, classic French cuisine is superior to all those other, ethnic, foods you cook. Mentality is thinly veiled white supremacy and racism. Your wife should be urging her sister and father to apologize to you, since they disrespected you. Not the asshole. And if she didn't want to be in trouble at work for being racist, she shouldn't be telling everyone at work about how she was racist. Lol. I love when they tell on themselves. Not the asshole. Sarah repeated her racist statement at work and got in trouble for it. It's not like you called her job and outed her as a racist. She repeated the story, thinking she's the victim, like a racist dumbass. Why on earth would you apologize? She's the one that's been harassing you over your skills as a chef. She needs to apologize to you. Am I the asshole for insisting that my brother and his girlfriend not wear gross clothes in my car? I, 28F, have a very sensitive nose. I can't do perfume. I tell guys not to wear cologne on a date. I can't be around cigarette or pot smoke or I start gagging. My whole family knows this and for the most part are very supportive. This weekend, my brother, 24M, called me up at 2 a.m. because he and his girlfriend, 22F, had missed the last train out of the city because they met up with some people at a bar and wound up going back to their place for a bit. He asked me to come get him. My apartment is 40 minutes outside the city and our parents, who he lives with, are about an hour away. I told him to get an Uber because if they reeked of alcohol, cigarettes, and weed, I didn't want them in my car. He said it would be too expensive, promised they didn't smell, and begged me to come. I told him that as long as they didn't smell, I would come get him, but that I was prepared to leave him if he did. I got to the address about an hour later. They came out and it was clear they were both drunk. My brother went to hug me and I could immediately smell weed on him. I started retching, told him it wasn't going to work, and to call Uber. We showered. There's no way you're smelling anything. It's all in your head, he said to me. Apparently their solution was to shower in these people's apartment, thinking that would get rid of the tobacco and weed smell on their clothes. I told them to call an Uber and got back into my car. He banged on the window. I told him that he wasn't getting in my car like that. I told him I'd give him half the money for an Uber and I was leaving. He told me to just roll the windows down. I told him that I didn't want it in my car. He said, I showered. These are the only clothes I have. I can't ride home naked. That gave me an idea. I opened my trunk, grabbed 2 blankets and 2 trash bags. I told them to put their clothes in the bags and cover up with the blankets. His girlfriend handed it back and said, fuck that. I'll walk, and walked away. My brother told me I was out of my mind and it was all in my head. I reached in my wallet, pulled out $50 and said to call Uber. He handed it back, told me to hold up, and ran after his girlfriend. They came back and he asked if they could sit in the back with the windows open. I told him I wouldn't be able to stand it for an hour. So they begrudgingly stripped, put their clothes in the bags, and I tied them off and threw them in the trunk. I drove them to our parents' house in silence and dropped them off without a thank you. My brother's girlfriend unfriended me on Facebook. He and she are not speaking, and my mom is furious with me saying that I embarrassed them and I was being overly sensitive. She says I should have called her so she could have gotten them. My mom goes to bed at 9, so I don't think she would have been thrilled. I feel bad that I put that condition on it, but I would not have been able to tolerate being in my car otherwise. Edit. I've been asked to add some info into my post that I answered in comments. My reaction to smell is very extreme. I retch, I gag, I throw up, my eyes water, my stomach churns. I get migraines, my heart races, I get chills that make everything else worse. I could not have driven home with that stench in my car. We would not have been safe. Everyone who is voting that I'm the asshole seems to think I forced this girl to take off her clothes to punish or humiliate her. There is no part of me that enjoyed asking my brother to give up his clothes to get in my car. I had no smile on my face, and I apologized to them for being so sensitive to smell. I pushed for the Uber, I even offered to cover most of it. It would have been $65 for them to get home. They didn't want to get in an Uber when they were in that condition. I was embarrassed to ask them to strip, but there was not a way for me to make it an hour with them in the car in those clothes. I did not tell them to get naked. I told them to put their clothes in the bag. They went behind the car, I had my back to them and was keeping my distance. My brother handed me the bags and I tied them up and threw them in the trunk without inspecting them. The blankets were a good size, so all you could really see is that both were barefoot and had removed their shirts and pants. I do not know if they left their underwear on or were naked under there. Any intimate bits were covered. Pressuring your brother's drunk girlfriend to strip off and get into your car when she'd already made it clear she wasn't comfortable with it was a pretty crappy thing for both you and your brother to do, to be honest. I'm not at all surprised she unfriended you and isn't speaking to your brother, and you trying to play the victim here because she didn't thank you is not a great look. Them for not making good choices. But to be honest, you sound like a lot. I also have sensory issues, and to be honest, sometimes you just have to be an adult and try to just deal with it. I gag daily, sometimes for no reason at all. Changing my child's diapers is a nightmare. But the world is not going to cater to your needs. Best to get used to that. You are the asshole because you should have just said no in the first place if you knew there was a very good chance you'd strand them anyway. And making someone strip to get in your car is just disgusting and violating. I don't blame that poor girl for not wanting anything to do with either of you anymore. Lol. The smell of bare ass on your blankets isn't as gross as smoke to you? Your brother knows you and should have just ponied up for an Uber or not missed the train or not gone into the city at all if he was low on cash. There are so many ways they could have prevented this. Even calling you at 2 a.m. for a ride when you're 40 minutes away is an asshole move. But demanding people ride naked in your car is just too much. I can see how the girlfriend felt she had no choice at the time and, once she sobered up, felt pretty violated. Surely you are in situations in public that you cannot control where you just have to grin and bear it sometimes. Here, these people had showered and were willing to ride with the windows down. That should have been enough. Not the asshole. You said their stench would make you sick and they lied to get you there. You were nice to offer half the Uber. For the record, you more than them. They should have had a better ride situation sorted out, but frankly you making them strip to get into your car is next level. It sucks you have sensory issues, but that is so far over the top it's scary. Roll the windows down. Your mom was right, you should have just called her. Instead you embarrassed and demeaned your brother and his girlfriend in public. That is never going to go over well. As someone myself who has sensory issues, mine literally send me into an asthma-like attack where perfumes is concerned. I can empathize with you, but only to a point. Making any person, especially a female, strip on a public street for a ride home is never acceptable. You at the very least owe your brother's girlfriend an apology for that behavior, and hopefully in the future no one will ever call you for help in a similar situation. Not the asshole. Sensory issues aside, it's your car. They don't have to deal with the lingering smell that will have to be taken care of after, and I think we all know they won't do anything to make that up to you. It's no different from people asking others to take off their shoes when they visit. Now, factoring in those sensory problems of yours, your brother and his girlfriend are even bigger odds because they already know you are very sensitive and they were hanging out in a place that reeked heavily of smoke and alcohol. The fact that you even agreed to help them in the first place should have meant that they were willing to do your every bidding. Am I the asshole for not letting my kid play with his cousin anymore? Both my son and his cousin are preschool age. Since I grew up with cousins, I was always ecstatic that he would too, and once a week I'd drive to SIL's house for a playdate afternoon. The issue? Cousin has always had a bit of a strong personality, but lately it's starting to toe the line of inappropriate. Like, I've seen my kid play with plenty of other children and games with shifting rules are the norm at this age, but every game suddenly changes and my kid is suddenly doing something wrong or losing, even if it wasn't a winnable game from the start. He also has started to, anytime my kid says something, immediately reply with, no, and explaining why my kid is wrong or how something else, another way, is better. SIL said it was only a phase and kid are tough, so I let it slide for a while. But last time I saw that my son wasn't really speaking and just passively nodded along, seemingly without listening to his cousin when he's usually very involved and imaginative during play. I was heartbroken and I gently asked him about it on the way back. He said that with cousin he just doesn't have fun. He still act normal and happy at preschool, so I decided to stop the visits to cousin. My husband agreed because I witnessed the behavior and he trusts my judgment. SIL was very upset, and said instead that I'm punishing an innocent kid, because I know that since he's not in childcare and she doesn't like driving, cousin doesn't have many friends, opportunities to play. She also said that I'm being overbearing and that a simple afternoon of not playing his favorite games won't ruin my son. I feel really bad because cousin used to be such a nice cute kid. I hate that he can't have as many opportunities as before, but I also don't think it should be at the expense of my son's happiness. And that the attitude is becoming something more of just a small imbalance between kids. So help me clear my mind, am I the asshole? Update for those who are interested. Wow, I can't believe how many responses I got while I was busy planning. One of you guys' comments really made me think. Cousin's house isn't neutral ground for him, so I immediately went to brainstorm some outside activities to try with both my husband and his parents. We decided on baby, swimming, introduction to the water, lesson since it should be rather safe, between the chlorine, small groups and staggered turns. Plus they get to socialize and start learning some useful skills. We managed to get in a class for today a bit far off, but I don't mind driving the kids. It was great. Skipping a play date made cousin realize he had maybe gone a bit too far, and while he didn't directly apologize he did offer my son their favorite Lego pieces. Even SIL was surprised. And the lesson was amazing. They didn't get much further than dipping their hands and feet into the swimming pool, but cousin took amazingly to both the kids and the water. He even helped son and the others get over their fear, reluctance to baby paddle their hands. It was adorable. Since none of us had actually known how little social outings cousin had, we all thought he got more with someone else, which is honestly awful. We also planned for his dad to bring him along on one of my husband and son's park outings to see how some more normal playtime goes. Between that and the couple of weeks of swimming lessons we have time to assess and see how to plan best for both kids, but after today we are very hopeful. I really want to thank you all because without the neutral ground comment, me driving to their house had always been a given, and it probably would have taken longer for all the adults to sit down and have the awkward, but needed, conversation about kid play time. I can't believe how quickly this whole situation seems to have turned around. I really hope today means that cousin might veer back to the leader, but not forceful, sweet kid he was before this, now understandable truthfully, outburst. And Reddit, thank you for making me see the situation more clearly. Not the asshole you did try talking with your SIL first and she minimized your concerns, saying it was just a phase. I'm glad that you are taking care of your child. You're not punishing an innocent child. This is just how the world works. When you treat your friends badly, they stop being your friends. Not the asshole. Susan, teaching your child how to be a good friend and play well with others is your job. It is your job to intervene when your child is not playing by the rules and bullying other children. It's your job to help him become a person that other people want to spend time with. It's not my child's job to put up with him no matter how he acts, and we won't be putting that on him. I'm sorry that cousin's behavior is limiting his socialization opportunities, and we're happy to try again once you've had some time to work on that. Not the asshole at all. Your son admitted he doesn't have fun. If you made him go after that, that would have been punishing an innocent child. It's not your problem she doesn't like to drive or have other mom friends. Not the asshole. You're looking out for your son and she refused to address the issue even though you have raised your concerns to her, which she brushed off as nothing. She gets no right to criticize and guilt-trip you when she's being selfish and ignorant of the effect it has on your son. She's being a shitty aunt. She can either start correcting her son to be fair, especially at the early age, or find other playmates who are willing to be bullied. Not the asshole. Your son feels visibly uncomfortable around the cousin, so why bother? Not the asshole. Your sister isn't parenting their kid at home, and being more their friend and not disciplining, which is unfortunately making your little niece, nephew a bit of a butt. NTA. Nephew needs to learn to play well with others. If cousin keeps being mean, making unfair rules, other kids won't want to play with him. The concept of natural consequences doesn't change just because family is involved. SIL isn't putting in enough effort into socializing her kid. If preschool is not possible, then SIL has to hustle for playdates. That may mean pushing herself out of her comfort zone and driving, learning to use public transit, or making local friends. Alternatively, she can step in and teach him to play fair if she refuses to allow him to learn these lessons naturally in a social setting. You aren't punishing nephew, SIL is letting him down. Absolutely not the asshole for looking out for what is best for your son. Why should he be punished because of his cousin's poor behavior? Am I the asshole for inviting my sister to my son's birthday party? Background. I, 35 female. Am recently divorced. Nasty divorce, with a child. 1 male. Living in a city 3,000 Malay away from family and friends. I have 1 sibling, 31 female. My family is insisting that my son and I to relocate to my hometown, but due to a stringent custody agreement, a move will require a lot of negotiation, including but not limited to holidays and birthdays spent in our current city with my ex and his family. My family has accepted this, and we've all agreed to be pleasant and present for holidays out of love for my son. My sister and I recently discussed my son's upcoming birthday, and I asked her to attend. Her response was that my ex and his family make her uncomfortable. They've never done or said anything to her, she just doesn't like them, so she didn't want to. I told her that her feelings were valid, but we're talking about 3-4 hours a year. I've never asked her to attend any other event or holiday celebration with them, and she's only met them once. And by the time he's 4, 2.5 years away, and will be able to remember, I'd like her to attend. She says she always sends a gift, so that should be good enough. I asked her if she noticed the difference between his excitement when he sees her and his excitement about toys. Attempting to show her that he cares about her, not the thousands of toys he has. She goes on to say that I'm bullying her and only calling her to demand she attend a birthday party that she doesn't want to. We'd been on the phone several hours. The entire birthday conversation took 5 minutes. She says that she understands that we have less than 20 family members. 5 of them are over 80 years old, and it's important to me and my son that she shows up, but no. She continues the bullying rant, including that her feelings are being dismissed and are unimportant to me. I stopped her in the middle of the rant and told her I didn't want to talk about it anymore and I would not invite her to his birthday again. She repeated several times that her feelings were being dismissed and she was tired of people demanding that she shows up where she doesn't want to be. I don't remember demanding anything or even encouraging her to get over it. Only telling her it was important to me and I'd like her to attend by the time he's 4. She got upset, told me she was hanging up, and my feelings have been hurt since. Am I the asshole? I may be the asshole because I'm aware my ex and his family make my sister uncomfortable. I'm aware she doesn't like to travel to where we live, and I asked her to attend anyway. I'll answer some of the frequent questions here. 1. Yes, I'm asking her to travel. She travels at least 8x per year, around the world. Not just our country, for one-day events, including but not limited to birthdays. 2. She has expressed that she wants a strong relationship with her nephew. I haven't pushed it. 3. I want her support at the party. She knows this and acknowledged it while calling me a bully. 4. This is not a fight about a party and really didn't have anything to do with my son. This is about feelings and whose are more important. 5. People are allowed to make mistakes. She's my sister, we're going to disagree at times and we're going to make mistakes. Everyone's entitled to make mistakes if they can own up to them, apologize and correct their future behaviors. Doing something wrong, especially when emotions are involved, doesn't mean you don't care. With all of that being said, I can admit that my behavior was wrong. No means no, regardless of how I feel about it, and I'll make that clear to her, without any extra details, when I apologize. Yep. You are the asshole. You're disregarding your sister's discomfort and trying to obligate her to attend a party, which is always going to be an asshole move. I don't understand why you don't just have separate parties for each side of your son's family. That would solve everything. You are the asshole, not for asking her to attend. but for pressuring and guilt-tripping her when you didn't like her answer. Respect her boundaries. Can a visit be arranged at a different time of year when she won't have to interact with people who make her uncomfortable? My judgment would be different if you had let it go after she answered, but you pushed the issue, making my judgment you are the asshole. If your ex's family makes her uncomfortable, then they make her uncomfortable, and you should be respectful of her feelings instead of trying to imply that they don't matter since it's only 3-4 hours a year you're asking her to be uncomfortable. There's nothing wrong with asking, but asking implies that no is an acceptable answer. And it is, though from your reaction, you wouldn't know it. Info. So you're fighting about a party almost 3 years away? I'm very confused. You want her to travel 3K miles for a b-day party? You are the asshole, kind of. Have a separate celebration with your sister or family when they visit. Or make it a tradition to go visit your hometown the weekend after your son's party with your ex. Be creative, there are ways to make this work. Also, kids' parties tend to be a chaotic blur for the kids and attendees. He would get more out of a meaningful visit with your sister than her lurking around the perimeter of a party where he will be distracted and having fun. Plan a second party for him if your ex-in-laws make her uncomfortable. You are the asshole for dismissing her feelings about it. Is she having to travel thousands of miles for this party? From your reaction, I get the very strong feeling that you really want her there more for you than for your son. You are the asshole for disregarding how your sister feels. Please just let her say no and try to be there for your son. You are the asshole. Asking someone to travel 3,000 miles annually for a child's birthday party is not a reasonable ask.